Welcome to SmithWeekly Discussions, an occasional program for our members of SmithWeekly Research. Please note this program is a private discussion and everything contained herein is for entertainment and educational purposes only. With that, we hope you're in a comfortable position along with your favorite beverage to enjoy the discussion. We remind our audience to examine the show notes attached to each of our shows to better understand how our program functions. Before we get into our discussion, we want to say thanks for questions coming from our audience of SmithWeekly, including Jeff S., Paul M., and Mike P. On the program today, we have a new guest and a returning company. Mr. Brian McEwen is on the program. Brian is the Vice President of Exploration and Development at Golden Arrow Resources. The company is focused on precious and base metals exploration in Argentina and Chile, with numerous projects advancing, including its core San Pietro project in Atacama region, Chile. The company is listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol GRG, as well as on the US OTC markets under the symbol GARWF. Mr. McEwen, good to have you on the program. Welcome.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Andrew.
Well, it's been quite a while since we had a company update, and last we had on company director Dr. David Terry a number of years ago to introduce the company. And of course, there's been a lot of changes at the company since, Brian. But given it's your first time on the program, just give our audience your background and experience in the junior natural resource sector.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Andrew. I'm curious to know when David did the last presentation because the company's actually done quite a bit in the last few years. But myself personally, I'm a geologist by education. When I graduated, I went off and worked in several different mines for about 10 years, and after that, I got into the consulting business, and quite frankly, got to see most of the world. I worked in South America and Asia and Africa, the Soviet Union, Australia. So I really did get around in that position and got some very, very good experience working with some very good people. I saw that a lot of my friends and stuff that were on the junior side were making money more than I was. And so I went to the other side of the table and started working with a couple of junior companies. I joined the Grosso Group in Golden Arrow 12 years ago now, and that's been great. I haven't made all that money like I thought I might. It's a lot harder than what I thought, but very happy. We've got a good group, and I'm happy to be able to talk about that today.
Yeah, Brian, thank you for that. It's always good to get a little bit of a background here, what you've been up to and how you're looking at things. And David was actually on the program back 6 years ago, roughly 2019. So there has been a lot of changes there. And we just had, I suppose, failed to get Golden Arrow back on the program, whether David or otherwise. Just with respect to, you're a geologist, it's always good to get a geologist perspective. Often it's different the normal course, maybe CEO out there or what have you. But how do you look at the marketplace today for junior exploration companies, as well as some of the underlying commodities, in this case, predominantly copper and gold, and of course, the sentiment that impacts exploration efforts?
Wow, that's quite the lead-off question. The junior market has been very, very tough the last little while. I would say probably the last year, or coming out of COVID and where the money's been going. And there's been this disconnect with metal prices that are breaking all time highs and things. It's been tough for junior companies, including ourselves. But that's shifted. I think in the last few months we've seen a real change in the market. The investment always starts with the big companies and then the middle companies, and they make it eventually down to the junior companies where the rubber meets the road. And we're seeing that now, and we're seeing financing now. We're seeing stocks move, and yeah, I think it's a really good time in the junior market. A lot of these stocks, ourselves included, I think are very undervalued, and I think it's going to be a very good fall into 2026. At least I'm very hopeful of that.
Certainly gold and copper prices are leading here. We're seeing that spill into, of course, the majors, mid tiers on the cash flow side, producing side, starting to get some of that movement downhill. So good to see here, despite some of the big challenges out there on the macroeconomics, and of course some of the geopolitics that are happening out there. Just to move into recent news items, go through a few things here. The company is focusing efforts on the joint venture San Pietro project in Atacama region, northern Chile, which is primarily a copper project, but it has a number of metals on it. Talk about the recent option exercise that occurred there with the partner, as well as some of the recent results to define additional exploration targets.
Do you mind if I just go back and a little bit of history on that and a little bit of color before I get to that point? Is that okay with you?
Yes, please do, because we need to also refresh some of the audience. So please do that.
And it's actually kind of a perfect time from when David left off, because in 2019 we had just monetized a discovery we had. It was the Chinchilla Silver project. We sold that project for 45 million or something to SSR Mining, and that gave us a lot of money to go look around, and we spent a lot of time and money in Paraguay. We spent a lot of time in Argentina, and then we ended up in Chile. Had quite a bit of experience in Chile, so we started looking and kicking tires and stuff. And then COVID hit, which was really tough on everybody in the market and exploration for traveling and getting things done. But during that time, there was a project, a San Pietro project that Sumitomo had, and they were looking to liquidate it and get it off of their books for whatever reason. And we had been watching this project already, and they called and said, if you want to bid on this project, you've got to come forward and you've got to have the cash. And we had the cash because of our deal we'd made with Chinchillas, and we put in a bid for the project. It was an auction, and quite frankly, I was surprised that we got it, and was really surprised, but we got it for the price we did. We paid, just about I think 3.5 million US for it, and that gave us 100%. So we're not a joint venture per se. I'll get to that in just a bit. But that put us in a really good position to start exploration, and we kind of hit the ground running in 2022. We had money to finance our first exploration season. That went very well. It's a big property. It's over 20,000 hectares. It's right in the middle of there's an operating mine to the west, and then to the east of us on the eastern boundary, there's a project that's also owned by Capstone. Capstone owns both of those properties, and they have an integration plan where they're going to bring both of those operations into one big plan. And we have all the land in the middle. We are like the jelly in the donut. So we're in an excellent position between two properties that are looking to merge their operations. And so we did our first exploration season. We spent our money, had a lot of success, and that was the time when it was really difficult for money. We ended up having a deal with an Argentine drilling construction company, somebody that we'd been familiar with in the past, and we made a deal with them, and he put $5 million into the project. That paid for 10,000 meters of drilling and all of heavy equipment and dozers and backhoes and stuff for our trenching. And one of the deals was there that with the 10,000 meters of drilling, we would complete a resource estimate. So we laid out a program that would allow us to advance the project as quickly as we can, giving insight into 20,000 hectares is, 200 square kilometers, 160 square miles. I don't know what that would be in miles, but, a large piece of property. And so we had the main target that had been drilled a little bit in the past. And then around, we've got, I think, probably half a dozen other targets in there that we wanted to follow up on. But we concentrated our work on the main area that had been drilled at a very wide spacing by Sumitomo. But because of our deal with the drilling company, we concentrated in that area. We ended up putting out a resource in February of this year. It was about 500 million tons of a 0.42 equivalent copper. That was based on copper and gold mostly, with minor contributions of iron and cobalt for the formulas we use, which is a big number, but it's all an inferred resource, which means there's not a lot of confidence in it. It needs to be drilled more so you can get to what's called measured and indicated, which is a higher level of confidence, which allows you to do your mine planning. And that was in February of this year. And in April, after we'd put together all of our plans and things, we've got a plan to go forward, but we're looking on how we're going to do that. So we're looking at how we're going to move that forward. We're in the process of talking to a lot of different groups and peoples, investors, and as I mentioned at the beginning, the market is kind of waking up to projects like ours and others. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we've got a plan to do the rest of the exploration of the project, as well as doing our infill drilling and raising the grade and all of the other things. It's starting to look very attractive. So I don't know if I've actually answered your specific question.
Appreciate you going back to the background. It's a big property, and to some degree, it's a bit of a partnership in the sense that This is a larger mining conglomerate group that you're dealing with at the subsidiary level, from what I understand. They're plugging in some money to assist with some of the work there because as far as the project area, there's lots to be overturned. So the next piece was to find out just some of the recent details of the option, and with that, new exploration targets and what the plan is to test those out.
Yeah, I glanced over that. Our deal with the drilling company, and I want to make it clear, it's a very friendly arrangement we have. And for the $5 million, they get 25% of the project. So they are now our partners, but we've got a contract where they drag along and tag along, and we negotiate just as one group. But it really got us over the hump. It's a great group, and we will continue to work with them in the future. But we're looking at what we're going to do with the next phase. We have one main area, as I mentioned, where we had the 500,000,000 tons in our resource estimate. It represents probably 25% of the project. So we've got 75%. We've got five other very key targets that we're looking at. We know that the operation beside us is short of oxide copper. We've got a lot of oxide copper on our property near surface, which could be easily trucked or moved to their operation. We've picked up some recent property just a little while ago that was adjacent to ours. It is kind of higher in gold, and so we're investigating that. We have the main target area, which is called Rincones, that we drilled off for the resource estimate, and we need to go in there and we will infill that drilling. And by infilling it, what we will do is we will bring up the grade of that area, similar to all of the other projects in the area, and we'll get something much more of interest to an operation. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. I'm very proud of the group and what we've been able to do with the money we've had to get it to this far. Massive piece of property with lots of different targets and areas to go after. So we've got kind of aggressive plans, and we just got to figure out how we're going to finance that going forward.
Brian, and with that, you guys have, of course, a portfolio of exploration projects. This one would be probably deemed the core project. Is the plan here to continue to define resources as the primary goal, advance toward PEA level economic studies, and push that piece as the primary focus along, with the other projects being kind of secondary, and possibly the expansion or the testing of some of the exploration targets outside of the present deposit area would be secondary? Just talk a little bit about how you see the focus.
Yeah, it's actually a very good question, Andrew. San Pietro is our flagship property. I mean, we've devoted most of our money and our people to that project. We did a very similar thing with Chinchillas. We've got very good technical people, and we were able to advance it to a point and bring in a partner. And we're like I say, we're talking to people, and we've got opportunities to consider in the future. That's going quite well. But we started in Argentina, and we've had a lot of success. We've had previous discoveries. The Grosso Group has been around there since 1993 with a lot of successes. We currently hold, I think, about 150,000 hectares throughout Argentina in some of the very good locations. And we've got a joint venture. One of them was with a company called Mogote Metals, which borders with Filo del Sol. They're a huge deposit in the high Andes. I mean, we have the property immediately to the south, and Mogote has optioned that, and they're getting ready to drill that any time now. Their stock has done very well. They've got a good group behind them, and anything they find there is going to be a big success for them. We've gotten money from them, and that gives us money to operate right now, as well as they're now shareholders of us. And any success Mogote has, it'll be a big success for Golden Arrow as well. We've also got another property called Caballos, which we optioned to a company called Hanak. It's a Chinese company operating in Argentina. We've recently signed a joint venture with a company by the name of Latin Metals for a very interesting property, Esperanza. Huachi, we have the adjoining property there. Any one of these properties that I mentioned, of those three joint ventures we have in Argentina, could be company makers, and we'll benefit the upside of all of those. We have another probably half a dozen of those, four that are especially good, which we've signed CAs with companies that are looking. So on the joint venture side and our properties, Argentina with their new president is really kind of opened up and bringing in a lot of investment, and that's been good for us and good for the attention in Argentina, where Argentina used to get a big discount for exploring, but now it's actually got a big it's a hot area. So we're happy to be able to joint venture those. That gives us money right now to do the work we're doing in Chile. So it's we're really clicking on all cylinders right now. We just got to figure out what we're going to do with San Pietro moving forward. But it's definitely the flagship and where we're putting our most of our effort for sure.
Brian, so it sounds like there's a number of things on the plate that'll be advanced in parallel to each other. San Pietro will be a key project there that is starting down the road of that advancement on economic studies, proving that up, possible more discovery, and showing more size there as well. And then, of course, you guys have the exploration portfolio elsewhere. You guys are also open to partnerships, earn-ins, joint venture type setups on some of these properties, similar to what the SSR transaction and some of the things that have happened in the past. You guys have had success and then sold off those assets to other companies. So as far as what are you thinking on timing in the immediate? You have a couple exploration targets that have been defined. You guys need to also do some infill work as well to improve confidence levels on the mineral resource estimate, which was put out earlier this year, towards the start of the year. What do you think will be the immediate push as far as what you can tell us?
I can't really say too much on this because it's just kind of wide open. But we're, as far as San Pietro goes, we're looking at a bunch of different options on how to move that forward. We've got a work plan. I mean, we're always doing economic studies. One of the very fortunate things that we have with the operating mines on both sides, or soon to be operating mines. I mean, we have access to all of their recoveries and costs and stuff. So we can play that game a lot with the area we have. For myself personally, we've got a big piece of land, and I want to show that this is kind of world class size to get out and drill some of these other areas we have, and the different deposit types. I mean, we've got potential of an iron deposit. There's an iron mine just south of us that Chilean company is mining. We don't even talk about the cobalt, which recent prices have come off, but there's a lot of cobalt there that can be recovered. We're looking at gold now on the west side of the property, but all our focus right now is the copper and a contribution of gold for sure at these prices. Get that moving forward. A lot of work to do. You compare the other companies around us, like to the north, there's a property called Sierra Norte. That's also owned by Capstone. I mean, they've all done 5-10 times more drilling than we have to get to where they are. We've got very kind of wide space drilling and stuff to define ours. So we do have a lot of work to do on infilling, to better defining the resources, and actually seeing what the potential of the whole area is. And it's nice that we're getting some attention now.
It's good. And also back to what you said about Argentina, bit of early days still yet to come, but looks like there's definitely things are heating up there. The regime there in Argentina is certainly more friendly compared to prior as far as mineral resource development and understanding source of wealth, I suppose, with respect to proper exploitation of natural resources, which is always key, especially when you want to recover economically and start to build something, which will take a long time, but good steps in the right direction, I would say, Brian, on that front. Of course, any other comments on Argentina in general here, but why don't we shift gears towards some of the other projects here? Just talk a little bit about what kind of work you guys are doing and how that's going to progress as far as the overall strategy.
We're working on a property called Yanso. We have two projects in Argentina that we're actually exploring on Yanso, which we've been working on. We spent, I think, since we've had the project, over $2 million just doing surface work and geophysics and stuff. And we've worked that up to a drill ready phase. We've got companies that are looking on that. We're going to fine tune that project. We have another project called Porto Rios, which is a very attractive gold project, which is about 8 kilometers right across the valley from Barrick's Veladero mine and Pascua-Lama. So we're working on that. That's one of those things that's seasonal. It has a lot of snow this time of year, so it'll be a few months before we get back on the ground there. But we're keeping busy, and we never stop looking. We've got opportunities coming, and we're looking. As a small company with limited funds, right now we're keeping those projects going, keeping the lights on, but really our focus is San Pietro. Another comment on the Argentina side. I mean, there's been some huge successes and projects moving forward. Mostly with you've seen with NGX and Filo del Sol and those projects are all the high Andes projects. And you've got Las Azules, McEwen Mining, and there's so much going on now in Argentina. It's just great to see after it being somewhat dormant for so many years. And Chile's always had a reputation of being one of the best jurisdictions, and they recently put out some new rules and laws on their mining code, making things a lot less expensive and easier to do. So for me, I think that we're working in the area. We've got a very good team in Chile, a very good team in Argentina. Great projects that we're working on and advancing either by joint venturing or working on ourselves.
It sounds like on some of these ones you guys have optioned out, we'll have companies reporting news on some of their exploration work as well, which obviously would benefit you guys if we have some success on some of these projects. And then, of course, the projects that you guys are advancing in-house with San Pietro as the core project. So very well understood there, and looking forward to seeing how you guys move forward that project. There's so many things you can do there. And then, of course, there's the advancement of economic studies there with the current deposit, which is also a good thing to have and be moving forward as investors look towards, seeing that information come out as well. So lots of stuff on the go. With that, Brian, short of any other comments there on some of the projects on capital structure, it's always good to get an update here on this as well. Just tell us where we are with the shares outstanding at the company, the key shareholders on the roster, including management and the board, and then also where we stand presently on the cash situation.
We've got about 160 million shares outstanding, warrants and options. We have about 230 million shares outstanding, which is not bad given the amount of time we've been working and the finances we've had to do. We've tried to keep that tight, but as prices go down, it gets tougher. But I think the structure is still pretty solid there. With our deal with Mogote Metals, they've put in $1 million recently to our company, half a million into the company, and the other half a million as a placement. We've got some other deals and stuff where money's coming in. We're not flush by any means, but we're getting by. I think we've got just under $2 million in the bank right now to operate on. Like I say, we're looking at what we're going to do to finance and to keep moving forward. Hopefully, we'll have some news on that in the very near future. And once we do, we'll barge ahead. We have, I would say that management and Joe Grosso, the chairman, we hold more than half the shares with friends and family. That's the last I'd heard. I don't know of any other major shareholders other than the people that we classify as friends and family. Somebody tried to take a run at the company and they couldn't do it at one point. So we try to keep that position very strong.
Brian, with that, just as we start to wrap up here, potential investors and investors out there of the company that hold equity already, what you would expect on timing over the next, call it 6 to 8 months. What types of items would you expect to come down, maybe including some type of a deal on San Pietro as far as advancement?
I don't know what's going to happen with a deal with San Pietro. I'm very hopeful that something will happen. I don't know what that'll look like, but we're considering some different options that they span the whole spectrum of possibilities. So we believe that'll happen in the coming months. Our stock has been embarrassingly low. It's kind of creeping up. I think that once people see what's happening, it's not going to hang around there very long. Like I say, we've got the jelly and the donut between operating mine. Other big companies are drilling all around us. We've been talking to a lot of companies, a lot of investors. So there's that's going on. We've laid out a plan as soon as we can, or as soon as we choose how we're going to advance it. We will be drilling again, and a lot of that might be driven by who our partner is. I mean, we've talked to people that want to look at a real fast track to production, which would mean we would probably be looking at drilling our high grade in one area so we can look at that option. Or other people are looking at, well, how big could this property be and stuff. So I don't really have too many details, but this is a process we've been running since February, really, when we finished our 43-101 resource, and we've got a lot of options, and so that's all going to be happening in the next couple of months or through the end of the year when we start getting more drill results. I mean, we're working on the property right now, doing a lot of mapping and sampling, especially around these new gold areas and stuff. So there's still lots going on. And if we have any other information that comes out regarding that, we will definitely put that out in a news release. But we have our 3 joint ventures that I think I might be missing one, to be honest with you. Any one of those programs, they have success, and you'll be hearing it through them and also through us. We've got our projects right now that we're working on at Yanso and Puerto Rios. as soon as we have something put on that. So I think we're going to have a pretty good flow of news coming out, and I think there's a really good chance that it's going to be a lot of good news, and that's going to happen over the next couple of months and through the end of the year.
Brian, understood. Thank you for that. Looks like there's a few fronts that folks can be on the lookout for. Timing a little bit to be determined, but sounds like things are in the works, and looks like we'll need to wait and see what happens next on some of the news fronts here. Well, Brian, why don't we leave it there for now? I do want to give you one more opportunity here to talk a little bit about the reasoning today for potential investors who are listening in. The company has a market capitalization of about 13 million Canadian dollars. Why should Golden Arrow Resources be considered within the institutional, family office, and retail investors portfolio at this point?
I think that a lot of it, I mean, there's no questioning the quality of the projects we have, or the chance for success on all of these projects. We've done very little in the way of advertising and stuff. All of our money has been really going into the ground. I mean, our stock, I mean, even though it's embarrassingly low right now, has doubled in the last, or almost doubled in the last month. And I think that that's because people are starting to take notice. And as I say, on any one of these fronts, we could be getting that news. We're in a great jurisdiction, surrounded by mines, and something's going to happen. I think that it's not going to be down here. The price is not going to be down here that long, and I think that there's a really good chance that it could really take off. I mean, I don't want to be a sales guy. That's not really part of my shtick, but it's a good time. I think that big success over the next little while.
You have the classic discovery successor, which is always a super high risk issue. And then you also have the advancement of what could become a great economic deposit if things continue to progress on that front. So you kind of have two different things there, two different drivers, two different demographics of investors, whether you're looking at development types or exploration discovery types as well. So interesting setup. And of course, we're in a very low sentiment environment still for this segment of the natural resource sector. We're seeing the interest come down the hill, so to speak, but good information there. And Brian, for further information, how can interested parties contact the company?
The very best way is to contact Sean Perger. He's our investment relations person. He can, anybody wants to talk technical or anything, they can direct questions to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I mean, it's you can contact Sean probably best through the webpage. I think info@goldenarrowresources.com will get it to Sean, and then Sean sends them to me. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. We're really happy to talk to anybody and provide information and go through presentations. Very happy. It's to build on that last point. We haven't spent any money or very little money on any kind of advertising or I mean you're the first person I've talked to in an awful long time, Andrew. We just haven't because we haven't we just thought our money is better in the ground, and that's all changing now. We're going to be getting our name out. We're going to be advertising more, and now's the time.
Always encourage our audience as part of their due diligence, part of their work, just touch base, ask questions, get information, spend some time researching. It's always important to do. So always encourage that and encourage folks to reach directly out to the companies. Well, Brian, really appreciate the time here. Great to have you on for the first time, and best of luck with some of that planning and strategy, and of course, incoming exploration results that'll be coming from partners and some of your guys' work. And we're looking forward to having you back to update maybe early 2026.
Andrew, it would be a total pleasure to come back and talk about what I said today and where we're at in 3 to 6 months. I would really like that.